This is Tony Gonzalez from Made in Metal, and today we are talking to Arjen Anthony Lucassen, who is going to release a new recording called Songs No One Will Hear. How are you, Arjen?
All good here. Thank you very much. It's not as hot as at your place, so it's only 20 degrees. So
Here, 35.
oh, I feel so sorry for you. It's terrible. You got AC in your room?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
So, the new album revolves around an apocalyptic premise. What inspired you to explore the question, what will people do if they knew the world would end in 5 months?
It's always the music that inspires me. I always start with the music, so I record all these little ideas. Always have a guitar next to me. And sometimes I have these little ideas. I record them, put them on the phone. I do this for half a year, then I've got like 50, 100 little ideas. Then I go into the studio, put it in my computer, listen to it. And I always hope that the music inspires me to come up with a concept or a story or lyrics. And this time the music was very eclectic, it was very small songs, very big songs, happy songs, sad songs. So I needed a concept that would reflect all these emotions, all these different emotions, I have to say. And then suddenly I thought, like, okay, what would people do if they knew they only had 5 months to live? Everyone would react differently. I mean, people would party, people would be sad, people would want to die, everyone would have a different reaction. So there's a lot I could do with this concept.
Yes, but there is a question that after listening the recording is very important to me. If you only had 5 months to live, like in songs, no one will hear, what would you do?
Well, the story is basically about Sanctuary Island. That's where the meteorite will hit the Earth. So I would be on Sanctuary Island. Wouldn't want to be in a world of where everything is a mess. Where everyone is dying, where people are fighting, where there's like a tsunami. People drowning and misery. I would want to be. I would want to see the asteroid coming. And like, okay, here I am. Boom, over. End of story. So yeah, I would try to make the last 5 months as positive as can be, which is kind of hard, because the world will be one big anarchy. Um, and I would want to end it quickly. So I would be there on Sanctuary Island.
You mentioned previously that this recording have very different songs, and
Yeah,
I would like to know how did you maintain narrative cohesion among these emotional contrasts?
I think by having a narrator. Uh, my good friend Mike Mills, who is on all my last albums. He's a Australian multi-instrumentalist in a band called Toehider, and he's a super talent. He's so good, and I needed someone for the narration who could be like very positive, and also very very emotional. And he is the guy. So yeah, his narration at some points is like hilarious, but at some points it's really serious and deep. So I think having him between the songs um, makes sense that you go from a very happy song like Shagathon into a very sad song like We'll Never Know. So I think that's very important.
Yes, I prepared the question. What does he brings to the overall experience? But now you told me. But
Yeah,
yes, we need to say that my meal is Toehider, and
yeah.
he released recordings under the name Toehider. Very, very interesting man, very interesting music. And now that he's working with you, Was he working there in Australia and sending the recordings?
Yeah, yeah. First, I asked him, I was like, oh, I hope he can do it, I hope he has the time. And he answered me, he said, well, I've got this terrible Australian accent and I can't hide it. And I said, no, I love it, exaggerate it, talk as Australian as you can. And then basically I sent in the music. I told him what each song is about. And with some songs, I had an idea, can you say this or can you say that? But I would say that 90% of the text that he narrates, he wrote himself. And it was kind of funny because the first draft he sent me, it was 1.5 minutes per song. It was so much and it was all brilliant. So I couldn't edit it, I told him, you have to edit it down from 1.5 minutes to 20 seconds. It should not be longer because, people's attention span is very short these days, and I don't want it to be too long. Every time you put on a song, you have to listen to narration of 1.5 minutes. So yeah, he did that perfectly too, and kept the best parts in.
Dealing with people's attention is becoming a very complicated situation now.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
totally. And people have a narration span of maybe a few minutes, some shorties on YouTube. And then I come with my first single of 15 minutes, It doesn't make sense at all, but I've always done things like that. So I hope I'll get away with it.
Fortunately, there are people like you that consider there are some other people who can maintain the concentration more than 15 seconds.
They are still there, they are invisible and no one knows they exist, but they are still there. And yeah, really, but when I did my first Ayreon, no one was doing progressive rock operas. It was crazy, it was Nirvana and stuff like that. And but I knew there have to be people like me, who still put their headphones on, lie down, close their eyes, or take the booklet, and be part of the story. And luckily, I was right.
Your previous recording was the Supersonic Revolution, and I maybe you don't remember, but we have an interview. You were in the same place. I was in a different place, and we were talking about the Supersonic Revolution. It's a
Right.
Yes, it's a recording that I still listen from time to time.
Cool.
Yes, but for example, when I knew about songs no one will hear, I imagine that it will be really different because you never do the same thing twice.
True.
Yes, but however,
So what did you imagine then?
anything, because you're crazy. So
I know. Yeah,
yes, you're crazy.
true. Yeah.
Yes. So, but however, in different songs, for example, one that is one of my favorite, Gap Dan Conspiracy, that is an extraordinary song. You keep the keyboard sound from Supersonic Revolution. You use a flute in the best Jethro Tull style.
Yes.
It's on, yeah. So was this song especially written by this solo project?
Oh yeah. Every song was written for this project. And this song is perfect for the lyrics, it's about conspiracies and it's a hot topic right now, especially with AI. People don't know what's real, don't know what's not real. Everything is a conspiracy. So the lyrics are half funny, half serious. And the song is like a real rocker, And actually the flute, it was a last minute decision. First I just had the riff and then I thought like, if we put a flute on it, it will get that cool Jethro Tull feel. And I'm glad you mentioned that song because it's going to be the next single and the next video clip. And video clip is ready, and I think it's next week we're gonna feature it on the socials and YouTube. So.
And who plays the flute?
It's Jeroen Gozens. It's a Dutch name that will probably be very hard to pronounce for everyone. I've been playing with him since I think Human Equation, which is more than 20 years ago. I think that's the first time I worked with him. And he has all the flutes you can imagine in the world. So when I first asked him for Human Equation, he came with 30 wind instruments. Really, he came with all kinds of flutes. And he also brought a didgeridoo. And I was like, well, in what key is that didgeridoo? He said, well, it's in the key of B. And I was like, okay, I've got a song in B. Let's put it there. Because that's the way I work, you know, very, very spontaneous. I'm like, hey, what does that flute sound like? And he plays something, and I know a little spot for it, you know. I think that's the coolest way to work, in a very spontaneous way.
In this song, the last verse said, it's all about money. It's all about cash. Do you really think that in a situation where the humanity will face an imminent disaster, money will play an important role?
No, money is over. You know, money is not important anymore. What are you going to do with money? You know, people will need food. They won't need money. And so there's going to be no, whether you're the president of the United States or the butcher, you know, it doesn't matter. President of the United States, it's not important anymore. No one will listen to him anymore, and no one will accept money anymore. You know, there's no need um, to invest money or to get, you know, money is nothing. You know, it's about your skills to survive. That's what it's going to be about. And in the song, I sing that because I'm talking about conspiracies in general. Basically, it's a metaphor. You know, the whole asteroid is a metaphor. It's the situation of the world right now, where a lot of things are about money. So
You decide to work with usual collaborators. I saw the list, but not all the list. So do you invite a musician here for the first time in your career, or everybody are close friends?
I think it's all close friends. Yeah, it's well, of course, on vocals I have the Jansen sisters. Irene Jansen is doing all of the backing vocals on the album, and Floor Jansen sings on the song We'll Never Know. Then I've got well, the flute player, as I told you, I worked with 20 years. Same goes for the violin player. There's a lot of violin on this album. I've played with him since 15 years or more. The cello player, the same. He also plays on all the live Ayreon gigs. The drummer actually is not the Ayreon drummer at Warby, but the drummer is Koen Herfst. And I played with him on all. You mentioned Supersonic Revolution. That's also Koen. He's an amazing talent, and he's great to work with. So he plays the drums.
Now that you mentioned, I will play the recording again to pay attention to Koen Herfst doing his job. Yes, because
Really, because it's really a cooperation. You know, I send him the song, and I think maybe you could do something like that, and then he has his own studio. So he plays and he said, what about this? Do you think this will work? You know, and I love working like that, you know, when musicians are not just playing blindly what you tell them, but if they come up with own ideas and their own interpretations of the songs. So,
but something that I don't remember, and I want to ask you, did you call Patty Gordy to play this medieval instrument in one song?
yeah, she played the hurdy-gurdy, and I love that instrument, you know. And I had this folky song, Our Weary Soldier, which has really that folky melody that I use a lot in Ayreon. And yeah, it was perfect for the hurdy-gurdy. It's such a cool sound, and she's so good at it. So
You mentioned that to my meals, you give him the parameters. So use this between this and that time, no more, no less. And tell me, in general terms, when you work with your collaborators, do you give them the fully finished song, or do you prefer that they contribute their own ideas to the tracks?
I give them pretty finished demos, but not for the solos. If I want someone to do a solo, I would never, give them the score or the music or everything. I would always say, I want a solo here. I ask you because I love what you do, so please do it your own way. So not for solos. But of course, if I have violin or flute, they need the score to play it, So I have to write everything out. I can't write music myself, but I do it all with MIDI. It's too hard to complain. Anyway, they play from music. Um, and with singers, with Irene, it's incredible. She doesn't need anything. She just comes to the studio and I tell her what to do and she sings it. So I don't have to send her anything. It's and also you keep the spontaneity a little bit like this, because when I would send her my guide vocals, this is what I want, she would listen to it 10 times and it would be hard for her to deviate from that. So if she comes here in the studio and she knows nothing, that's the way I love to work with her.
Is Irene the floor sister?
Yeah, Irene is uh, I've worked with her ever since Star One. We did the Star One tour, and I asked Floor, "Do you know someone who can sing vocals with you? Sing backing vocals with you?" And she said, "Yeah, I don't know. Well, I have a sister, and she can sing a little bit." And I was like, "Okay, let's try it out." And then, those two best singers in the world, they were singing backing vocals for me in Star One. And Irene they're equally great. They're just as great. Really, there's I can't say Irene is better, Floor is better. They're equally amazing. So yeah, I every time I can, I try to work with both of them.
And was there any track that surprised you during the recording because of the contribution of the guest musician?
Good question. Well, yeah, like with Irene, I never know what to expect, and she's also a great actress. That's what her pronunciation, her English pronunciation is amazing. Um, for instance, you mentioned goddamn conspiracy. There's a lot of acting of her in it, like it's all about money, and she can do that so perfectly. Um, so yeah, and the same goes for the even the classical musicians. When Jeroen comes here for the flute, I always ask him, "What would you do? Do you have any other ideas? Do you have a different flute?" Like in the last song, our final song, there's a beautiful flute solo. It's played with a low flute. And I planned a normal flute there, but he said, listen to this, it sounds really exotic. And it's true, that really works.
I asked you the previous questions because the woman who sang on We'll Never Know, I didn't know that now that you mention. So she put her soul and all her inspiration in the lyrics. So I remember and I feel emotion. Imagine how this song Will Never Know inspire me and get into me. Tell me, what did you think when this song was finished?
Well, it's a very sad song. In fact, it's so sad that I didn't even know if I wanted to do it. Because I felt the lyrics could be manipulative, like making people cry, and I didn't want that. It was just a thought I had, what if you expect a little baby girl, but she will never be born because the world will be gone in 5 months. So it's a really sad story, and I thought the only way I can get away with this is if Floor sings it. So I contacted Flora and I told her the story, and she loved the story. She said, "Well, I'm a mother myself, so I can really be part of this story." Um, and I didn't record her in my studio because she lives in Sweden or Finland, I don't know. Um, so she sent it to me, and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. This is so much better than I expected it would be. Um, so yeah, that without her, that song wouldn't have been half as good.
It's a really extraordinary, Arjen. But tell me, now that you tell me this, was we'll never know the darkest moment in this recording?
Yeah, definitely. It's a dark. Well, in the song, the first song, "The Clock Takes Down," it's very sad too. It's a story about lots of different people, and one person just takes a lot of pills, and drinks. So that's very sad too, of course. But in general, I wanted to keep it positive. I wanted it to be not about death, but like a celebration of life, like let's make the best of it in these last 5 months. Like all these people who are going to Sanctuary Island, I see it as kind of like a hippie commune where everyone is holding hands and singing, and let's let's celebrate life. So yeah, I think the lyrics of the song, Just Not Today, I think they pretty much say everything, we're gonna die, but not today. So let's carpe diem, basically, let's seize the day.
Not today, neither tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Yes, our final song closed the album with a 15 minutes epic and a mini film. How did the visual concept come about?
Well, on my previous solo album, Lost in a New Reel, I had a song which is about 12 minutes. It's called Lost in a New Reel. And I think it's the most favorite song I ever wrote. So I'm really proud of that one. So for me, it was a real challenge on this album to make a better song than that. You know, I don't know if I succeeded, but at least I made a longer song. It's 3 minutes longer. Um, and it was just let's start and have no limits. This is not going to be a hit single for the radio. Or for Spotify. Let's just do whatever I want, and let's just finish a little part and see what comes after that part, and see what that comes after that part. And at some point I was like, okay, I've got all these little parts. I didn't know how much I had, so it was like, oh, it's 14 minutes. That's perfect. So it was a very organic as situation. So it was I didn't think about it too much. If you think about it, you go crazy. You just have to be spontaneous and let the ideas come.
So the recording explored various styles: rock, folk, metal, electronic. How do you decide which genre fits a particular emotion or a scene?
It's the other way around. As I said, I start with the music. And there's no limits. I can put in any instrument I want, and then when the song is finished, only then am I gonna think like, what is this song about? So it's not the other way around. It's not like, oh, I have this sad lyric, I need a sad song. No, it's I have a sad song, so I need a sad lyric. And that's basically the way I've always worked. And maybe it's the other way around. Maybe I was just reading an interview with a band where they have all these Viking songs about wars and shit. So they have their lyrics first, and then they write a song to it, which I can't do. I can't do that. So I have to work the other way around.
And is there a musical genre that you will never explore in your own music?
Yeah. There is. I don't think I would ever do a reggae song, or I would never do rap, or I would never do a aggressive Well, there's some aggressive parts, you know, but not like rap, like the, oh, you fuck you, I would not. I hate it so much. You know, it's I can't handle it. Having said that, a band like Faith No More, when they do it, you know, I like it. Same with aggressive stuff, you know. If I hear Devin Townsend, go for it. I love it. So it can be good, but um, yeah, I would never do reggae or R&B or stuff like that. It's simply not because I hate it, because but I can't do it. You know, it's not in my soul or it's not in my heart. So
I imagine that your answer will be in that line, but I also imagine that maybe in some moments you will do some or more jazzy parts, maybe R&B someday, maybe, because you are very open-minded. Even
well, uh, in principle, I don't like jazz, but I have a lot of jazzy parts in Ayreon, you know. Sometimes in the middle of a song, you know, it goes like, even in a song like Loser, you know, it goes like, so yeah, no, it's true. I have an open mind. Anything is possible. But reggae, I don't know. Having said that, Rush did it, you know. What song was it? Are written on the subway walls, tenement halls. So Rush did it too. Maybe because they like the Police, you know. That's where the reggae thing comes. And Led Zeppelin did it, of course, on Houses of the Holy. That this song called Jamaica, um, which is basically a reggae song. So yeah, you're right. You know, who knows? Maybe one day.
yes, Full on the Rain from Led Zeppelin.
The drums there are so amazing.
Yes,
Uh, Actually, it's on YouTube. You know, just John Bonham's drums of "Fool in the Rain," and it's so groovy. It's so groovy, and I stole it actually. I stole it and I used it on my last Ayreon album, Transitus. Uh, I stole that rhythm. I told the drummer, I told him, listen to John Bonham, listen to this. You know, can you play that too? And yeah, you're right. That is an amazing rhythm. The song isn't that good, I think, but the drums are amazing.
yes, you're right. You're right. Yes, this new recording appears in different formats, a Blu-ray, art books. How important is the physical format to you in today's digital era?
Oh, very important. Ever since I was a kid, artwork was everything for me. You know, if I have bought so many albums just because of the cover, um, which, you know, sometimes resulted in terrible albums. That's true. But like for instance, the artist Hypnosis, you know, who does all the um, Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd stuff. I just bought everything they made. Their artwork is so amazing. And actually, I tried to get close to the artwork of Hypnosis, which was Storm Thorgerson, on my new album, you know, with the red and the beach and me sitting on the beach with the doggy. So I tried. They always had a little bit of humor in their artwork. Um, and luckily, I still have fans who buy it, you know, because I'm now signing all my albums and it will take me a couple of weeks. You know, I got it here at home, and I will post a little video of me signing this afternoon, actually. Um, and really, I'm signing thousands and thousands of albums, and each album I sign, I think like, wow, somebody bought this, you know, and somebody bought this. Um, Even though now you can stream it for free, basically, you know, even now people are still buying art books, digipacks, vinyl, different colors. You know, it's released in I think in black and yellow and red, and people want them all. You know, it's incredible. So yeah, luckily, it's still very important for me and for the fans.
When we were talking about Supersonic Revolution, you told me that you wrote all the songs for this recording. In this case, did you wrote all the songs for this recording again?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, the last album I did before this was the Simone Simons album, and I was empty after that. Really, I did so many projects. I did Supersonic Revolution, I did Plan 9, I did Simone Simons, and I was empty. And it took me. There was nothing anymore. There were no ideas, nothing, and it lasted for months. It was terrible. But then luckily I had this one good song. I think it was The Clock Ticks Down. And then all the other ideas started coming in. So yeah, all the ideas I had since then I put in this album.
I imagine that does it mean that there are no songs in the drawer waiting to be recorded?
I wish there were, then I would be back in my studio again. But no, I had 15 songs for this album, and 3 songs went to the bonus disc. And I also recorded 2 covers, which had something to do with the topic, with the concept. So one of them was Die Young of Black Sabbath, which is of course, well, Die Young, it's obvious. And the other one was The End of the Doors. And I made a great version of it because the original is 11 minutes and I brought it down to 4 minutes. And then we sent it to the Doors and they didn't like it. They said, no, you've changed it too much. And they didn't allow me to ever with a big ever release it. So that's it's songs no one will hear. That's a song no one will hear. Unfortunately.
It's not better to make the arrangement and then pay the royalties without saying anything to the writers? I'm thinking on the end.
Release it without asking.
Yes, you rearrange, record, pay the royalties, and that's all.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, if I would release it, they would get the money. So why would they say no? And if you release it anyway, the record company doesn't want to take that chance because there is a possibility that you send out 10,000 albums. They don't like it, and you have to have to get all these albums back, and that's gonna cost a lot of money. So the label wouldn't risk it. I would risk it. I would just do it. I in the past I've always done that. I've recorded an album under the name Strange Hobby with Pink Floyd, Beatles, the biggest names, and I never asked for permission. I just did it, and I was like, if it goes wrong, we'll see. What happens, and I always got away with it. But I understand a big label. In this case, the label is Sony, which is one of the biggest in the world. They're not gonna risk that. That's gonna cost them too much money. So.
And now that you tell me about writing song and so, how do you handle the inspiration? Do you sit on the table every day and write, or is from time to time comes as a sudden imagine?
I wish I could sit down and force myself to write, but I can't. I can, but the songs will be shit, So no, I have to really want to grab my guitar and then try a little bit, and if it doesn't work out, I put it back immediately. It has to come naturally, and there's no way for me to force it and do something good.
Are you thinking to come this project into a concert, a tour, European tour at least, with this album next?
No, definitely not. No, because I would have to sing everything, and I'm I have terrible stage fright, and well, as you may know, we do these Ayreon shows every 2 years.
Mhm.
And we don't only play Ayreon, you know. Sometimes we play other projects, like the previous or the Ayreon shows, Electric Castle Ayreon shows. We played one song of each of my projects. So we also played a song of my previous solo album. So it's very well possible that in the Ayreon shows we will play one of the songs of this album. I mean, Goddamn Conspiracy would of course be a great option. But not a tour with this album, no.
Some fans believe you are reluctant to sing lead vocals. How do you feel singing alongside legends like Floor Jansen or James Labrie?
Scary. Scary. Especially this album, I had to sing a duet with the best singer in the world, you know. It was very scary. But I love singing, and people sometimes think I don't like singing. I do like it, but I'm not a singer. You know, I don't have the technique. I don't sing 100% in tune. It's not a talent I have, but I do like it. So and I think I'm getting a little better at singing. I know my limitations now. I try not to sing too loud because then it doesn't sound good. You know, I sing very soft and very low and so I know how to make my vocals sound good. But yeah, on the live shows when I have to sing, you know, and I have all these giants around me like Anneke van Giersberg and Damien Wilson and Russell Allen, you know, it's like, oh my God, here I am with my tiny little voice. But then, you know, then I see the audience and I see all these big smiles and I see people cheering and it's like, okay, you know, they'll accept me anyway.
Thank you for your time and the music, Arjen.
Always a pleasure, Tony. So talk to you next time, hopefully.
Yes, I hope to see you again. If you come to
Cool.
Spain, if I am lucky, I go to the north and you have a concert, I will call you because maybe I don't have ticket, but I will call you.
Okay. It's good.
Okay, bye. Enjoy the
Okay, man. Bye bye, you too.